top story at this hour is the mega deal where Elon Musk has acquired social media giant Twitter for $44 billion. The Tesla boss is set to make sweeping changes on how Twitter operates. In fact, in a tweet, Musk suggested enhancing the platform with new features like defeating spam bots, making open source algorithms, authenticating all humans, edit button and flag bugs as well. In fact, responding to critics from the left and right over efforts to mediate misinformation on the platform, Elon added, and I quote, "Free speech is the bedrock of democracy, and Twitter is a square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated." That is what Elon Musk has had to say as far as this whole the buyout is concerned. Meanwhile, Jack Dorsey, the co-founder and former CEO of Twitter, in response to this, has expressed in a series of tweets and approved Musk's deal. In fact, saying that Elon is the singular solution he trusts for solving the company's problems. He said, and I quote, "Elon's goal of creating a platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is the right one." In fact, let's bring in some more perspective here. We've got Pawan Dugal, cyber expert, who's joining us. We'll also have Ankush Sabharwal joining in as well. Let me first go across to Pawan Dugal. Mr. Dugal, thank you so much for speaking to us. This entire buyout is going to completely change the way that, like we've been talking about for several weeks now, of how Twitter operates and what it really means for users. But my question to you is specifically with regard to how, Elon Musk is planning to tackle misinformation on the platform, things like bots and trolling, which is something that nobody has yet tackled it properly.
Clearly, the coming of Elon Musk through this acquisition appears to be a breath of fresh air. And it's likely to bring on record new, fresh perspectives, fresh approaches. But let's understand one fundamental thing. In this entire hue and cry, let's fundamentally understand that Twitter as an intrinsic fabric is changing, because now Twitter is becoming a purely private company, private limited company, for profit. And therefore, if you're expecting Twitter to really follow all sovereign functions, then you're going to be in for some kind of a surprise. Because I believe when the fundamental objective of a company would now be on revenue generation, on profits, freedom of speech and expression is not necessarily going to be a big priority area. And also, given the fact that Twitter has had a very shady past in terms of an arbitrary approach towards freedom of speech and expression. They've upheld some freedom of speech and expression, but have actually landed up ignoring others. And given the fact that they have been not very uniform in their approach, I think we should now be prepared for new, drastic, sweeping changes. Clearly, fighting spam, fighting these Autobots becomes a big priority for Elon Musk. But how does he land up doing so? Because the last management and the founders have utterly failed to deal with the entire menace of trolling online, specifically in the context of the Twitter ecosystem. So while Twitter will continue to be the powerhouse in terms of influencers and politicians of the world flogging in, the important issue is how this particular new revenue generation mechanisms are going to take place is something that we'll have to wait and watch. Already, the CEO of Twitter said that Twitter is dark as to which direction it's wanting to go. And clearly, the existing board of directors will have to pack up their bags because they've clearly not delivered. And now new fresh blood comes in, new perspectives comes in. Whether it's going to be constructive or not so constructive, given the history of Elon Musk, who has been trying to silence his critics in the last many years, how his actual commitment towards freedom of speech and expression will take place is something that only time will be able to tell.
Yes, absolutely. Ankush Sabharwal also with us now. Ankush, thank you so much for speaking to us. Your perspective here, because obviously while we are expecting sweeping changes, what this is really going to do or how it's going to empower people and freedom of speech is going to be the most important thing that is going to be looked for.
Definitely, I think this is the great news. My perspective, and Shyam from the developer community. You see how exciting would this be when developers like me and others can see the code of Twitter and see, hey, what are the algorithms behind emphasizing or de-emphasizing any tweet, and if someone is getting blocked, then what should be the reason, as Elon Musk earlier said. So whatever is happening algorithmically or manually, so that should be revealed to the public. So nothing behind the scene. So I think it's definitely a great move towards freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean so I can speak anything, right? But anyways, that even Elon said very clearly, so within the law of lands, but whatever is possible and whatever is legitimate, that should openly come out from the users to the word using Twitter platform. And exciting is the code would be open source, as he said. I hope he does that soon.
Absolutely. Ankush, if I can just stop you there and, ask you a little bit for our viewers to explain why open source algorithm becomes so important and what it actually means.
So there are two aspects of open source. One, open source is, this is the code, say, if you think about Linux operating system, the code is open source. I can use that product free of cost, and I can even add to it. And there are a few licenses where even I can sell it after adding my code. Say Java is also open source. I use it, I create applications using Java, and I sell it as enterprise or as developer. So here, I don't think that would be the concept, but here it would come the second aspect, which I said. The first is, yes, open source, I can use it, sell it based on various license clauses. But here, open source would mean the code is open for public to see how it is developed, how the decisions are taken within Twitter, right? So when I go to Twitter, right, I see few tweets. So that doesn't mean whoever I follow, I see all the tweets, right? So based on some algorithms, I am shown few tweets, you would be shown different tweets, right?
Yes.
So AI is applied and few other algorithms are applied. So this logic is going to get revealed. That's what my interpretation of what Elon said is.
All right. Pawan Nugul, coming back to you in terms of, how Twitter will, now that it's going to completely be changed, with respect to the Indian laws, because there have been issues specifically with Twitter in the past as well. How do you see that dynamic functioning?
I think I would expect a change of perspective as far as Twitter is concerned vis-a-vis countries like India, where Twitter's feeling is actually seeing some legal heat. And the reason for this is very simple. 4 FIRs have been filed against Twitter for its failure to comply with the Information Technology Act 2000. Now, Elon is a businessman, and I think he would not like to go in a confrontationist approach that the previous management had done in the context of India. I think so long as Elon's current statement also is saying that they would be complying within the parameters of the law. The parameters of the law would not necessarily only be US law, but would also include the laws in the different jurisdictions where their services are applicable. So I expect a change of perspective, and I expect more conciliatory approach because a businessman is here to make monies and profits, and he's not necessarily interested in confrontation or non-compliance with the parameters of the applicable laws, in the Indian case being the Information Technology Act 2000 and rules and regulations made thereunder.
Ankush, your perspective on, the user experience and exactly, obviously we will see how it pans out, but what do you expect would be some of the first few changes which could possibly roll out?
I think the first would be we should be allowed to edit the tweet, right?
Yes.
So I see that happening, but it's very tricky, right? Someone asked Elon a question. I was watching that a couple of days ago. So say I message, say Elon Musk is a rock star, right? And millions of people say retweet it. And if I edit it saying the negative of what I wrote, then people who had retweeted it, they would get embarrassed, right? So then what would happen to that? So there are complications. I think things are not very clear. So then I think again, he said as a response, he would be seeking feedback. So maybe when we edit it, then all the retweets and everything would get vanished. So I think how would that happen? I think that is yet to see. But I think about edit would be the first move. I think that would come.
Okay, all right. Pawan Dugal, of course, the other aspect here is with regard to, like we were talking, some of the first changes that could come out as far as Twitter is concerned. But this is also likely to have an impact on the entire social media landscape and how other social media companies might, look at this move and what impact it might have. How do you see that view?
I believe that this is now an irreversible trend that's begun to start happening with this acquisition. Now, we need to understand that other social media platforms are not necessarily the same material, the same fabric as is Twitter. Twitter is a powerhouse, a great influencing platform, but though it has less number of subscribers than other social media platforms, but this acquisition could actually trigger off a series of more acquisitions in the social media ecosystem. And I think the focus is now increasingly getting more clearer. Social media is great for communication. It's great for freedom of speech and expression in a limited manner. But ultimately, it's only a business. Because the governments of the world are not providing you social media and private companies are providing you social media, users will also have to slightly tamper with their expectations. Expecting these private companies to perform sovereign functions will not be a right expectation. They will be here for profits. And for that, if they have to curtail some bit of your ability to freedom of speech and expression, they're likely to do the same. Further, we're likely to see more trends of consolidation on social media. I believe that more and more acquisitions on different other social media platforms are going to take place. And as ultimately we go forward in the next 5 to 10 years, I only see some big handful players only existing and all smaller players either converging, consolidating, merging, because mergers and acquisitions could potentially be the defining trend on social media ecosystem as we go forward.
Yes. Ankush, the other aspect I wanted to ask you was about, something again that Elon Musk has sort of shared his thoughts on Twitter with, as far as the monetization of Twitter is concerned. In fact, the paying for accounts as one of the solutions to sort of ensure that there are no bots and nobody has multiple accounts. Do you think that is something that we could see coming through?
Yeah, I think it's very clear he's not considering this as money-making gig, right? It's just he's thinking about effort for the public good. So I think I don't know. My ads can be stopped, but I think mainly it is for the free speech and kind of inclusive contribution from Elon. And I think Elon was also expecting people to join hands with him to square up this kind of deal because it's for the public good. But yeah, so I think still businesses would like to pay. So I think because businesses give ads, I don't think there would be immediate change, but overall focus is non-monetary.
Yes, absolutely. That, of course, would be a way to try and eliminate the bots, one of the solutions that Elon Musk at least tweeted that he was looking into. So we'll have to see how that really pans out. But Ankush and Pawan Dugal, thank you so much for joining us with your perspective on this. On that note, slipping into a very quick break, we'll be back with more.